Isn't the natural hazard report just a basic run-of-the-mill thing that I can just kind of skim through? Well, yeah, it is, if you don't mind potentially paying thousands and thousands of dollars of additional insurance costs because you didn't read through it. We're going to talk about the natural hazard report and what you should be looking out for, and we're going to start right now. Hey guys, Hans Struzyna with the Gunderman Group at Keller Luxury International coming to you with another video. Today we're talking about the natural hazard report. Most people frankly skip it. It kind of sits usually towards the bottom of the disclosure packet. It's 50 plus pages in most cases, and it's kind of boring. A lot of people just look at the maps and like, okay, it's in, it's out. What does that mean for me? Like, why should I care? Well, the reason is because it could affect your insurability and how much that insurance is going to cost, and obviously could be thousands and thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your home. So spend a few minutes reading it, and we're going to go over that today. And if you get value out of this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because I am going to continue to put out weekly content just like this, and you're not going to want to miss it. So stay tuned for that, and thanks in advance, and let's get into it with the natural hazard report. So I'm sure you're thinking, all right, last week you did the title report, now you're doing natural hazard, you're talking about a lot of boring stuff. Yes, it's dry, it's kind of boring, it's tedious, but it's absolutely something that will save you a ton of money if you just invest 10 or 20 minutes in it. So here's what I'm talking about. The natural hazard report basically takes your property in your location and layers a bunch of different maps: flood maps, earthquake maps, fault lines, fire zones, etc., and layers them over where the property location is and tells you whether you fall in or outside of some of these zones. And as many people will attest, especially in Oakland, Berkeley, up in the hills, but also in Alameda, down by the water, whether it's the estuary or the bay, there are a lot of different natural hazard reports to go over, and it means something very different. So you got to spend a few minutes looking in there. So the first thing you're going to find within the first couple of pages is a list of, at the county level, at the state level, and then at the city level, what maps you fall into. Generally speaking, things to look out for here in Oakland, Alameda are of course the flood zones, because the maps were just redrawn and implemented in early 2019. And if part of your property falls into one of these flood zones, you might require flood insurance. And that doesn't just mean in the Bay. There are places up in Montclair or up in the Diamond District where there are creeks or rivers that technically might fall into a flood zone. So just because you're not next to the Bay doesn't necessarily mean you're out of the water, so to speak, on that one. And then, of course, as you go up the hill into Berkeley and Oakland, or over the hill into La Miranda, you end up in fire zones. And there's a defensible space requirement, meaning you have to cut back all your vegetation and your brush, which is obviously, number one, expensive sometimes, depending on the size of your property, but also something that your insurance agent is going to look at and quote you on for fire insurance. And the reason that's important is because a lot of national or large insurers aren't interested in insuring California fire zone properties, especially with all the wildfires we've had. So for you, if you know that you're in one of these fire zones and you're going to bid on a property, you absolutely need to take a look and call your insurer to say, hey, we're in this. What is it going to cost? Is this something you can do? If they say no, there are a lot of great local options, of which I have many, and I'm willing to share those, of course, if you run into that. So just hit me up. My information's down below. But basically, there are certain insurers that won't touch California fire zone properties, and some that will. So you need to know that before you go writing your offer, because it's going to factor into your debt to income ratios and affect how good of a rate you can get on your loan and how much that loan is going to cost you ultimately. And one other factor that's kind of cool that most people don't totally realize is, as you scroll down in that natural hazard report, you'll find certain things like Mello-Roos or other things that are going to end up on your property tax bill, like park redevelopment fees, Shoreline Redevelopment Fees, Per-Parcel Taxes, that sort of stuff. And it breaks it down very nicely. Usually about 30 something pages into the report, you'll be able to find exactly what's going to show up on your property tax bill other than just the property tax itself. So some neighborhoods have certain requirements that others don't. So obviously, if you're shopping in several different neighborhoods, it's going to change as you go. But make sure you take a look at that, know where your money's going, know what's proposed, because that will sometimes show up on there but hasn't been implemented yet, and how that's going to change your costs. And that's it, short and sweet. Like I said, the report's kind of boring. It's something that not everyone wants to spend a lot of time in, but it can absolutely save you a ton of money and, of course, headache from having to scramble to find someone to insure your home at the 11th hour. So make sure you spend a little bit of time in there. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. And if you got value out of this, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because I am going to continue to bring out content just like this every single week on Fridays. So without any further ado, this is Struzyna with the Gunderman Group at Keller Williams Luxury International, and I'm signing off for now. See you guys on the next one.